We'll begin by looking at a couple of opening sentences written by famous writers. Of course, there is no universal agreement on what an effective beginning is and what you should and shouldn't do in your first sentence. But I believe one of the most effective ways to begin a story is to introduce conflict or complication, either overtly or more subtly. And the easiest way to do that is to introduce a desire that for some reason cannot be fulfilled, at least not right away. If we go back to my early examples, we can see that some of the opening sentences follow this formula very blatantly. For instance, here we can see an unfulfilled desire right away, a fisherman who hasn't caught any fish in 84 days. If we look at other examples, we can see that the obstacle desire formula is not that obvious from the first glance, but it is there nevertheless. This sentence, for instance, communicates a desire to get the story right and tells us that it is not an easy endeavor. We instantly begin to wonder why it is so important to get the story right and why it is so difficult to do so. Even this opening sentence communicates a certain desire, even though it doesn't introduce any characters. By using personification, Samuel Beckett finds a way to introduce a conflict, a suffocating stagnancy that cannot be easily escaped. So, after pondering a little about what makes a beginning effective, I invite you to write an opening paragraph, or even just a sentence, yourself. First, you will need a character and a general idea about what you would like to write about. If you are already working on something, that should be easy enough. But if not, what you can do for the sake of practicing is to turn yourself into a character. And your character can be you in the present, or you in the past, or even in the future if you feel adventurous. Now that you have a character, grab a piece of paper, divide it in half with a vertical line, and write a list of your character's desires. You might want to come up with several, trying to think of both surface level desires and deeper, not easily discernible desires as well. So your list, for example, can include things like to have a cup of coffee or to buy a new phone, and also something like to live a meaningful life. The more you can come up with, the better. Now, on the other side, write at least one obstacle for each of your character's desire. This step is very important. If you can't come up with any obstacles, then you do not have a conflict yet. And if you don't have a conflict, then you have no story. So after you finish your list, think about what desires and obstacles are the most interesting. How can you communicate them in just one sentence or one paragraph? Are you going to blatantly state them? Are you going to be more subtle? It's now time to start writing. In this stage, I highly recommend turning off your inner critic. Just free write. You can evaluate your writing later.